Good evening, everybody. So good evening, everybody. Today is the 14th of Elul, and as we are preparing for Rosh Hashanah, actually tonight is already Tetvav Elul, and in Chabad it's a special day because it is the foundation of the yeshiva of Tomchet Mimim. And the significance of it, because it's the first yeshiva ever that incorporates the learning of Hasidus into the order of Nigle. So up until then, people only learn Nigle and they learn Hasidus by themselves. But the Rebbe Rashab started the yeshiva that Hasidus is part of the Seder of learning. So we're going to speak today about, we'll divide the shiur to three parts. We'll read two letters of the Rebbe. Then we're going to learn Hilchos Deot, and then we're going to learn a Maimer for 10 minutes. So as we were learning the last few months about improving character, we're going to learn some letters of the Rebbe regarding character. So the Rebbe answers a letter regarding getting upset and angry. And there is a letter about laziness. Okay, so we're going to start about getting angry, upset and angry. No, it was, I wanted this. Sorry. Combating anger and cursing. Okay, in reply to your letter of the 21st of Sivan, in which you write about the state of your health, you describe your ailment and that you were cured of it several times, and after a period of time it returns. Okay, so that's typical for character, that you can never achieve a character and maintain it. You're going to improve it and then it can return. The Rebbe writes, it would be proper for you to question a specialist in this area and follow his instructions, and permission was granted the healer to heal. However, it's patently obvious that the fact that at times you use expressions that are opposites of blessings, this causes damage to your soul's health and thus also causes damage to your physical health, inasmuch as the health of a body and soul are interdependent. Moreover, the verse specifically states that with regard to each and every Jew, I shall bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. So chas v'shalom, if you curse somebody else, really means, specifically if it's a Jew, if you curse a Jew, Hashem, God forbid, can curse you. Because Hashem said, I will bless you when it said to Avram Avinu. I will bless those who bless you and I will curse those who curse you. And you probably know the Chassidic question is, if God can bless and God control everything, why doesn't God tell Abraham, no one will curse you? Hashem can bless Abraham that no one should curse you. Hashem, no. If people curses you, they will be cursed themselves. So the idea is that the world runs in its course, and we have to live according to how Hashem runs the world. Okay, so then we continue. Taking into consideration that your occupation is that of a religious scribe, such conduct, meaning of cursing or getting angry, becomes even more unthinkable. Furthermore, that which is stated in Kisvei HaArizal is known that at a time a person is angry, his soul is exchanged, God forbid. Okay, and surely it is not necessary to go on at length about a matter as plain, as simple as that. So this means that when we get angry, when a Jew gets angry, he can exchange his soul, because his own soul leaves his body and a new one can come in. אתה רואה שאני באמצע שיעור, היית דווקא עכשיו שיחה?
You're right about that. You know, that's what I got.
לא, אני לא יכול.
Explain.
Moreover,
שומעת גם explain.
בוקר טוב, עכשיו אני לא יכול לדבר על זה. בוקר טוב. Sorry, family matters. Okay. Moreover, since as the verse states, as water reflects the face to the face, so does the heart of man to man. When you act with forbearance, and only words of blessing and kindness will issue forth from your mouth, this is bound to evoke reciprocal feeling on the part of your wife, Tichye, and peace and joy will reside in your home. Also, study in appropriate depth Igeres HaKodesh, chapter 25 of the Alter Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya B'Shulchan Aruch, in which he explains the teaching of our sages of blessed memory. Whoever is enraged resembles an idolater. It would be appropriate for you to inspect your tefillin, especially the tefillin of the head, and after the morning prayer to recite the daily portion of Tehillim as divided by the days of the month Bli Neder. Okay, so no need to explain it more than that, how important it is not to get angry and to understand that when you have a temper, you should probably go see a doctor, a specialist, a psychologist, psychiatrist, get treatment. But then we also speaks about the spiritual aspect of getting angry, which you can exchange your soul. It hurts other people. You don't get Hashem's blessing, and you have to reciprocate, because once you will be nice to others, they will be nice to you. You will say nice things to others, they will say nice things to you. Okay, now we're going to go to read a letter on laziness. Now, I included in this link in the text I sent you, this page on the internet. You can probably go by yourself and read more letters. Very interesting. Overcoming laziness. I'm in receipt of your letter, the 4th of Tevet, in which you write about the problem of laziness, etc. And you ask my advice as how you can overcome it. One of the effective ways of overcoming this difficulty is by deeply contemplating the notion that God is omnipresent at all times and in all places. And the Alter Rebbe explains in the beginning of chapter 41 of Tanya. Likely at one point we should learn those two chapters, 25 and 41, because the Rebbe talks about them a lot. And what does it say in that chapter? Behold, God himself stands over him and scrutinizes him and searches his reins and heart, i.e., his innermost thoughts and emotions, to see if he is serving him as is fitting. Therefore, he must serve in his presence with awe and fear, like one standing before the king. The point is to remember that inasmuch as God gives one the great gift of time and of mental capacity, one must not waste these great gifts granted to him by God. By way of illustration, suppose a great and majestic king personally and graciously gave you a gift, and he stands next to you in order to see what you will do with his gift. What would it look like if you would ignore his gift and go out for a walk or engage in some other pastime, etc.? Surely it is unnecessary to emphasize to you this idea at great length. I will only add that the Yetzer Hara is never lazy and is very busy and industrious in his efforts to distract a Jew from his service to God. Therefore, you must have a ready weapon with which to combat him. For this reason, I suggest that you learn well and commit to memory the beginning of chapter 41, to which I referred above. Do so until these sacred words are engraved in your mind and consciousness, so that you will always be able to recall and ponder them whenever the need arises to overcome the temptations to be lazy, etc. So you can imagine we have ability to have a gift, to be smart, to learn more, to be kind to others. Imagine I will say, oh, I'm not going to use my brain right now. I'm going to go play soccer. I'm going to go play a game. I'm going to waste my time. So the Rebbe says it's a Yetzer Hara, and he never gets lazy. So you always have to have a weapon. And what's the weapon? To remember those ideas that Vehine Hashem nitzav alav. Hashem is standing in front of you. Okay? Let's learn. This is the 10 minutes that we learn about 2 letters from the Rebbe. I want to learn about Hilchos Deot, because we always talk about increasing in our intellect and improving our character. So is it just good to be a nice person, or is it a mitzvah to be a nice person? Okay, so let's learn the laws of character. Okay, Hilchos Deot. It's in the book of Mada. It's a second chapter, second book. No, it's the first book of the Rambam out of 14th book, but it's the second set of laws. This includes 7 mitzvahs, 5 positive mitzvahs and 6 negative mitzvahs. Sorry, 11 mitzvahs. And this is their enumeration: to resemble his ways, to cling to those who know him, to love one's fellow, to love converts, not to hate one's brothers, not to chastise, not to humiliate, not to cause pain to the miserable, not to bear gossip, not to take revenge, not to bear a grudge. These mitzvahs will be clarified in the coming chapters. Okay, so now we're going to go into very, very important topics. We probably know it every day, but it's always good to learn. Every person possesses many types of character traits, each different from the other, with a vast distance between them. One man is hot-tempered and always angry. Another is of calm temperament and never becomes angry. And if he does happen to become angry, it will be just a bit in the course of several years. There is the very haughty person and the very humble person. There is the lustful person who is never satisfied from following his desires. And there is the pure ascetic who does not desire even the small amount that his body requires. There is the greedy person who is not satisfied by all the money he is doing in the world, as he stated. But this is a new book that came out. It's called Pardes HaMelech. It's in English translated, and the Rebbe writes that this set of halachas discusses matter concerning physical health. Therefore, by studying these topics in Torah, we can be yoytze, we can fulfill our obligation, discharge the need for physical endeavors, and Hashem will grant us health and healing. If one will make positive resolutions to grow in his Torah studies, Hashem, who sees into our hearts and knows our intent, will surely grant us all the necessary blessings for children, health, and livelihood, with spiritual and material health. So let's go back. So the pasuk says 1. Second, 2019, 2021 second. Oh, I skipped 2 pages. I don't know where it is now. Okay, so I skipped those pages. I cannot look at it right now. So just gonna skip those, and we're gonna go to halacha number 5. One who is exceedingly scrupulous with himself and distances himself from median behavior traits a bit in either direction is called pious. Who is this? One who distances himself from haughtiness to the very edge and is exceedingly humble is called a pious. In Hebrew, it's called chassid. For this is the trait of piety. And if he distances himself only to the median point and he's humble, he is called wise, a chacham. For this is the trait of wisdom. The trait of wisdom is to be in the middle. Okay? This rule holds true for all other character traits. The early pious ones would incline their natural behavioral traits beyond the median path towards either extreme. Some traits they would incline towards the latter extreme and some towards the former extreme. This is going beyond the letter of the law. We are commanded to follow this median path, and they are the good and just ways, as it's stated, we should walk in his ways. So the Rambam tells us, okay, that the median path is the path of the wise person, okay, the chacham. And those are the median path. Sometimes if you have two extreme and that there is a bell shape, okay, so the two extremes are no good. The median is the best. But sometimes from the median, if you go to one of the other extreme, that will be called a pious way. Okay. Okay. So let's keep on reading. So they taught the meaning of this mitzvah. Just as he is gracious, so too you must be gracious. Just as he is merciful, so too you must be merciful. Just as he is called holy, so too you must be holy. With this approach, the prophets called Hashem by all these terms: slow to anger and of great kindness, righteous and just, perfect, mighty, strong, and the like, to inform us that these are good and just ways, and a person must habituate himself in them and model himself upon them to the best of his ability. How can a person accustom himself to these traits to the point where they become ingrained in him? He should practice time and again, and then a third time, actions which are fitting for the median character traits, and repeat them constantly until their performance is easy for him and is no longer bothersome, and the traits become ingrained in his soul. Okay, so we heard few terms telling us, perfect, mighty, righteous. We are not it, but if we will behave time after time after time in this behavior, they will become a second nature to us. And then once it's a second nature, it will not be difficult to continue them later on. Because the terms which the Creator is called form the median path which we are obligated to follow. This path is called the way of Hashem, Derech Hashem. It is this path that Avraham Avinu taught his sons, as it states, for I know him that he teaches his sons and households after him that they observe the way of Hashem. Meaning our duty when we want to show that we are really following the way of Hashem is when we teach our children this way of Hashem. Okay? One who follows this path brings good and blessing unto himself, as it states, so that Hashem bestow upon Abraham that which he spoke to him. So this was the first perek. Now we read a couple of halachas on chapter 2. People who are ill, meaning physically ill, okay, taste bitter things as sweet and sweet things as bitter. Some ill people desire and have appetite for foods which are not fit for consumption, such as earth and coal, and abhor good foods such as bread and meat, all depending on the seriousness of the illness. So too, people who are morally unwell desire and love evil traits and abhor the good path, and are indolent about following it, and it is a great burden upon them, corresponding to how unwell they are. So Yeshayahu states regarding these people, woe to those who say that evil is good and good is evil, set dark as light and light as dark, present bitter as sweet and sweet as bitter. Regarding them, it also says, those who leave the straight path to go in the ways of darkness. What is the remedy for moral illness? That they go to the sages who are healers of moral malaise, and they will heal their malaise with their traits. They shall teach them until they return them to good path. Those who recognize their faulty character traits and do not go to the sages to heal them, Shlomo stated regarding them, and discipline is scorned by fools. So the Rambam here is encouraging us. If you know somebody who has problems of behavior, of character, then really we need to refer them to the sages to come and give them the straight path to walk in the ways of Hashem. So before, the Rambam just introduced the concepts of that there are two extremes. Now he's going to say how to cure them. How can they be cured? One who is hot-tempered is told to act even if beaten and maligned, as if he feels nothing at all. He should follow this course of action for a long time until his hot temper is uprooted from his heart. Meaning you have to go to the other extreme for a long time until the temper that you had before is decreasing. If he's haughty, he should act with extreme humility, sitting below everyone and dressing in worn-out rags that humiliate their wearer, and other similar actions until the haughtiness has been uprooted from him, and then he should return to the median path, which is the good way. And once he returned to the median path, he should follow it for his entire life. Let's just read the Rebbe's comment here. It's a long one. So let's read. He should return to the median path, which is the good way. The Rambam says here that the most preferred path is the middle point. Similarly, earlier on in Perek 1, Halakha 4, he writes, every person whose character traits are all median and equitable is called wise. However, the Lechem Mishneh, which is an interpreter of the Rambam, points out several contradictions. So the Rebbe is going to say the contradiction and then he's going to explain them. The Rambam writes in the next halacha that one should not take the intermediate path for the character trait of humility. How then can he state a general rule that equally balanced traits are the sign of wise men? Meaning the Rambam says go to one extreme. So why is he saying to go in the middle? Second question. Above in chapter 1, halacha 3, he writes that it is not fitting for a person to incline to any extreme. Yet a mere two halachas later, the Rambam writes that one who distances himself from haughtiness to the very edge and is exceedingly humble is called pious. Above in chapter 1, halacha 4, the Rambam writes that he should not become angry except at a major event worthy of anger. However, in chapter 2, halacha 3, he writes clearly not to become angry even on a matter where anger would be appropriate. These contradictions can be resolved with a careful reading of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. The Alter Rebbe writes that one should distance himself from the undesirable traits of anger and arrogance to the furthest extreme. However, he omits the Rambam statement that one who has haughtiness in his heart should be excommunicated. Even just some haughtiness, which implies to an even greater degree that there is absolutely no acceptable amount of pride and anger. Okay? Why does he choose to make that distinction? Apparently, there is a difference between the first and second chapter of Hilchos Deot. In the first chapter, the Rambam speaks of an ordinary person, while in the above-mentioned laws, in the second chapter, where he is much stricter regarding pride and arrogance, he seems to be speaking about those who are morally ill. Therefore, when the Alter Rebbe wrote his laws, which have no indication to be speaking of the morally ill, he allows space for a minute amount of pride, etc. It therefore appears that the Rambam is addressing two stages in one's character development. Initially, one must eradicate every trace of arrogance. However, as one progresses in his divine service, he may sometimes doubt his capabilities of self-worth. Therefore, it is demanded of him to cultivate a sense of pride in his accomplishment and confidence in his ability. The same is true regarding anger. At first, one must distance himself entirely from it. Later, it is conducive to his divine service. He may adapt it and use it correctly. Any questions? Any comments?
Who is the judge of using it correctly?
Say it again.
Who is the judge that you are using it correctly?
Another person, a friend of yours, or a rabbi of yours. So, I mean, all of us have a rabbi that we are connected to, what's called a mashpia, somebody who influences you. If you don't, it's a good friend that you can trust, and you can tell him, you feel comfortable to tell him your issues, and then you listen to their advice, because we are not objective to ourselves.
Right.
So we need to have somebody, but somebody who understands character, somebody who understands human behavior. Okay. So we always need to ask someone else to help us come out of a problem. Okay.
And then you can ask them if you're pious or not, or if you are wise.
Right. But again, I just want to say, wise or pious are character behaviors which are not permanent. Okay. So yes, you can be pious at one point, but then later on, can, God forbid, behave differently. Or somebody can be wrong and behave in a wrong way and become pious. That's called about tshuva. Chassid. Okay, so Chassid. So therefore, we have to learn that character traits are not acquired, and therefore we must practice them over and over again. And that's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah from Hashem. So when we teach it to our patients to have good character, you know, we're actually teaching them a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to come close to Hashem by behaving like Hashem. Jay, any comments?
No.
Okay.
It sounds a lot easier than it is.
That's a comment. So let's go to the Maimer of the Rebbe, Ani ledoidi v'doidi li. The Maimer we learn in the month of Elul. And so I'm gonna we'll read two sections. We already read 2 weeks ago, we read some sections talking about I am to my beloved and my beloved to me. The month of Elul is I am to my beloved, and the month of Tishrei is my beloved to me. So on the surface, in order to explain that the revelation of Elul and the opportunity that that revelation presents is granted to everyone, it is only relevant to state that when the king is in the field, anyone who so desires is giving the license and the opportunity to go out and greet him. Why does the Maimer in the Likutei Torah add, he receives them all pleasantly and shows a smiling countenance to all? The question is particularly apt since the fact that the king received them all pleasantly and shows a smiling countenance to all reflects in the analogy the drawing down of godliness and the revelation from above that allow man's divine service. It means that, yes, it is in a way our act that we need to go to the king, but even that is coming from Hashem. Okay, even that opportunity to come close to Hashem is coming from Hashem. The above requires explanation. The drawing down of godliness and the revelation that follows main divine service, my beloved is mine, occurs during the 10 days of Tshuva, from Rosh Hashanah until Yom Kippur, while the analogy of the king in the field serves as an explanation for the fact that the revelation of Elul enables man's divine service and thus precedes it. Okay, thus seemingly the king response to their greeting him is superfluous in the analogy. Why do we need those two expressions? Okay, so the question is, why does the service of Elul important to come before the service of Tishrei? It is possible to explain the above points by prefacing a comparison between the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy in Elul and the revelations of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. In order to receive the revelation of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, one divine service must be on an elevated level. Okay, you cannot just come to the king on Rosh Hashanah with shorts and slippers and expect that the God will greet you, because we are the nation's elite. We are the select few. So we need to have a preparation before we come to the king on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Now, so what is the preparation of Elul? One needs only go out to greet the king. In the analogy, this refers to arousing within oneself the acceptance of the yoke of kingdom of heaven. Meaning, on the month of Elul, which is now, in order for us to come close to, we need to come close to Hashem, we only need to have Kabbalah soul. We only need to accept God in the yoke of his kingdom. Okay, we don't have to do other things. Okay, so it's a simple arousal, simple preparation. The revelation of Elul also extends to those who are found in the desert. Okay, that doesn't exist in the month of Tishrei, on Rosh Hashanah. If you don't come to Shul, you didn't come to Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is to come to Shul to hear the blowing of the shofar. If you didn't do that, you're in the desert. Now, what happens in the desert? There are forces of unholiness. Okay, when we say Hamelech Basade, the king is in the field, it means that the field is a place of growth, of life. The desert represents lack of life. Lack of life means opposing godliness, opposing. When the month of Elul, when Hashem is in the field is a place where even people in the desert can come out into the field. So the revelation of Elul extends only to the field, but the purpose is that those people who are in the desert should come out of the desert and go into the field. Meaning, the revelation of Elul gives the power to leave the desert and go to the field to greet the king. And on this basis, it can be said that in the words of the Maimer, the king received them all pleasantly. The emphasis is on all, including even those who only desire to greet the king, but are held captive by their evil inclination and cannot follow through and do so on their own initiative. Consequently, even when they desire to turn to God in tshuva and accept the yoke of the kingdom of heaven, they are not able to bring this desire into actual expression. The king receives even such individuals pleasantly. This arouses within them a powerful and mighty desire to greet the king. As a result of this desire, they are able to overcome the obstacles and hindrances and turn to God in tshuva. Okay, we'll go to section 5. In the Maimer in Likutei Torah, the Alter Rebbe adds a further point. The king shows a smiling countenance to all. The difference between receiving them all pleasantly and showing a smiling countenance to all can be explained as follows. Receiving is the word mekabel. He is receiving them all pleasantly. Mekabel is you accept something. When you accept something, it's already there. Okay? So a person receives a pre-existing entity. So when Hashem receives us, receives everybody, meaning there is already somebody there. We are willing to go. On the other hand, showing a smiling countenance to all indicates that one's own shining countenance is radiated and revealed to another person. It means you already have to shine by yourself. That's the second level. The first level, Hashem is accepting you. He is receiving you. He accepts you the way you are, but he also shines you to the extent that you can shine to another person. Not only it's about you, it's about another person. Okay? It is possible to explain that the parallel to the smiling countenance in the analogy is the pleasure God takes in the Jewish people themselves, which is loftier than the pleasure that results from the Jews' observance of the Torah and Mitzvos, and even loftier than the pleasure that results from the divine service of tshuva. So when we do mitzvahs, we give a pleasure to Hashem. When we learn Torah, we give pleasure to Hashem. When we do tshuva, we give pleasure to Hashem. But this pleasure lies within God's very essence. So there is a higher level of pleasure beyond Torah, beyond mitzvahs, and beyond tshuva. Okay? When the king shows a smiling countenance to the people, and this pleasure is revealed to a person who is aroused with a desire to tshuva, this awakens within him, as water reflects a face, pleasure in godliness. So much so that the person's pleasure in godliness becomes the essence of his pleasure. This gives him even more power to overcome any obstacles and hindrances and turn to God in complete tshuva. So when we come close to Hashem in the month of Elul, Hashem shows us so much pleasure that he gets from that his pleasure radiates into us and give us so much pleasure that we want to be with God. And that's what awakens our tshuva. And that is what we need to accomplish in these very days, the days that we are now at the eve of, now like half the month of Elul passed. We are in the field, we are with the king, and we can come close to the king. And we don't have to learn how to come close to the king. We can just speak, Hashem, please give us a good, healthy year. Please give us strength give us health, give us money, give us opportunity to help other people, give us good character, give us the wisdom. And we ask it from Hashem. Hashem gives it to us because he has pleasure that we are asking, and that by itself gives us the pleasure to do what we are supposed to do. So it's now been about 35 minutes. So the shiur officially is ending, and now I'm open for questions or discussions or any comments. So I'm going to stop recording, so then we can keep on talking. Where is stop recording? Okay, I don't know how to. Oh, here, stop recording.